Shut up and sit down.
Can you imagine if that was like the tryout for Saturday Night Live?
That would have been awesome.
Tuesday afternoon.
Live from New York, it's Tuesday afternoon!
Are you on Saturday Night Live? No, but I'm on Tuesday afternoon, so I'm almost there.
I'm always on Tuesday afternoon. All right. So, here we are, second portion. I will more than likely make this into a second video. Just might as well break it off.
Whatever you want, man.
Yeah, I know.
More content.
Yeah.
More content, more
content.
party.
Three videos this week? Ooh.
Dang.
I'm getting fancy. All right, so here we go. So the second half of this video is going to all be kind of about beer.
I like it.
I like it too, because I like beer. So as you can see here, we've gone up to the bar and we have gotten some flights. I call this section Flights with Frank.
Nice.
Yeah, I feel like it works.
It worked very well.
And so I actually challenged Frank to get 3 beers that he normally doesn't get.
Yep.
And I've gone ahead and I've done 3 of the same for me, 3 beers that I choose probably the least out of all of ours, but that's nothing to say anything against the beers at all. It's simply just that I just don't gravitate towards these particular beers and styles right now.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I've had them, but dark beers are in season, so I'm waiting for these to kind of warm up a little bit so they can kind of really kind of sing.
Is that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah. You always let the darker beers kind of sit and think about what they did for a little bit.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it brings out it brings out more like of the coffee and chocolate, and if there's barrel on it, you'll get more barrel. So this one's probably going to be a little bit different than what I've had before in the past. So
Beer knowledge.
Speaking of beer.
Yeah.
Which beer here at the brewery is kind of your go-to? I know that you and your wife, Tiff, are here on a fairly consistent basis.
Shouldn't tell the public that. No, I'm just kidding. We come to eat and drink water.
Lies.
Yeah.
Water that is spiked with barley and hops.
That's right. That's right.
So, which is your go-to and why?
It's a long day, and I just really like the taste of Long Day. I don't know. As you can tell, I'm more of a light, goldeny IPA type guy.
Okay.
The darker beers I've never really become accustomed to, ever. You know, any not I'm not just saying here. Any dark beer whatsoever. I've just never. I don't know why. But I really like IPAs, lagers. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just love the taste of Long Day. And then I'm kind of a weird guy in the sense of once I like something somewhere, I'm always going to get it.
Just always
I'm very rarely going to try something.
Time. Yeah.
I'm the same way. Actually, my food order here.
I was just about to say you're the same with food every single time for the most part.
Go anywhere else, I have all the restaurants in the area. I have 1 to 2 things that I really enjoy. I've
Chicken
had them.
fingers and mac and cheese.
No,
right?
that's George.
Oh man,
George likes that. But I have a couple things at each restaurant, and I always just go to it because I know that's what I'm going there for. I enjoy it. I know it's good, and I'm not a trier, you know, unless somebody is like, here, try this. Mm-hmm. It's whatever. We had it, somebody didn't want it, but
you always tend to go safe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
So
let's talk about what both of us have chosen here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with you. What did you choose in your flight? And we can kind of drink these as we kind of move about this last series of questions about booze.
That's right. So 2 IPAs and a lager.
Okay.
Skies Out, Thighs Out.
Skies Out is a hazy New England.
Yep. And I really
big fruity notes on it.
Really wanted to try that because Nothing better than when the sky's out and thighs are out.
Well, yeah.
You know. Square one in the middle.
Square one's great. Nice traditional lager, super light, malty, but not like super sweet. It's one of my jam beers right now. Like between that and Schnitz and Giggles, those have been like my 2 go-tos every single shift.
And this is why you're the beer man.
Yeah.
You're a Sherpa. Because you're already dropping knowledge on me.
Well,
and
knowledge bombs is what I do.
And Veranda Weather was the third one I picked.
Yeah.
And that says it's a West Coast IPA.
It is a West Coast IPA.
What does that mean?
So
California?
West Coast are always going to utilize West Coast hops.
Okay.
And West Coast yeast for the most part. And so the hops that we utilize on this one are going to bring out more like pear and apple, which is a little bit different than what you would kind of anticipate for a West Coast. Normally with the West Coast, you're going to get like pineapple.
Never knew that.
So I actually really love Veranda because it's just that little bit of familiar, but it's different. Because with the West Coast, you're going to get like pine resiny, almost kind of feels like you're sitting in a Pacific Northwest, forest.
Which is a great place to sit sometimes.
Absolutely. But with the addition of like the notes of pear and apple, it really just kind of, I don't know, makes you kind of feel at home.
Yes. That makes me really want to drink that first. Makes me feel at home.
Whatever floats your boat, man.
No, I'm going to go thighs out first. But since you gave me all that knowledge, because I know you are the beer man and you have all that knowledge on that. So since Long Day is my go-to, and then we'll focus on the other one. What is all that knowledge you just gave me about these? Tell me about that. What am I drinking?
With Long Day is our flagship IPA. So Citra, Amarillo hops. So you're going to get some citrusy notes on the front end of it. It's going to be a little bit more malty sweet on your palate, but it's still like slightly spicy because of the Amarillo that's kind of thrown in there. And you get a little bit of that resininess kind of on the back
here.
end.
Yeah, I like it, but it's still smooth though.
It's very, very smooth.
That's why I like it a lot.
This batch has been especially good.
I think that's why Tiffany and I like it so much because, I mean, they go down it's super easy, super smooth.
Yeah.
So,
so many just like traditional IPAs, just they linger and they sit, and it's just a strange back end.
And they're good, but then it's like you can't talk for the rest of the day.
Right, but like Long Day just, I don't know, it just sits a little bit different, and it's just
make me want to take a sip.
Well, I'm not going to apologize about that. So the 3 that I've chosen are 3 of the beers that I love, but I don't have enough of.
Sure.
I think. We're in a weird part of the season for me because I'm a very seasonal beer drinker. So generally during the summer, I'm very IPA heavy. I'm not very IPA heavy right now at all. This is the season where I start getting into lagers and Oktoberfests and porters and stouts. And so when I looked up at the board when we were kind of choosing our flights, I'm like, well, it's been a minute since I've had Scientific, so that's what this is. This is our House Imperial Stout. I went ahead and I also did the barrel-infused version of Hogtied, which is what we put out for Beer, Bacon, and Bourbon Fest. So it's a maple bacon French toast infused porter. Yeah. And then I decided
sounds good.
I decided to go with dessert, and dessert is Thunder Whip, which is basically Tropic Thunder, but a milkshake version of it, and it kind of drinks like a pineapple upside down cake.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Huh. It's kind of nice with the sweetness of the vanilla that's thrown in there and the lactose sugar. It works really, really well together. So it's different.
Sounds good.
Figure I finish with dessert.
Speaking of the Beer, Bacon, and Bourbon Fest, you know what I always appreciate about Off Square is the marketing here is incredible.
Get out of here.
From some of the names on the beers, some of the shirts, I think they're hilarious. I love them.
The names are fun, and I think the guys that are working in back will appreciate that. And I have named several of the beers that are on the menu, and it's always just so fun to come up with names because we just have a good laugh about it.
Yeah. So how does that happen? How do you? Have you already given this on another show and I'm wasting viewers' time?
No, not at all. And it's funny because sometimes it occurs organically. Like I'm always interested in what Matt and Dylan are doing it back. And so I'm like, okay, so what are you guys working on? What style? And they tell me the style. I'm like, okay, well, what are you using? What hops? What malt back? What flavors should we be expecting? And that is when all of the spitballing begins. Okay, well, what should we call this? What could we call this? What interesting, fun take can we play on this? And so, like, that's truly where it all begins. And like when, unfortunately, all of the beers that we have chosen are none of the beers that I named. But I mean, I did do the artwork up on the board for Square One.
Nice, and that goes to another thing, not only the marketing, but it's a very nice board.
Yeah, I you know, that was one of those things where for years before I started bartending here, I had only ever written up on the big board once, and that was for a bourbon barrel aged stout that we did, the Beast, and I wrote that up there, and it was big and it was awesome, and I was really proud of it because, you know, before I went into teaching, I wanted to go to art school.
Okay.
And so I was very, very artsy-fartsy up there. But over the summer, I started working on Thursday mornings, which are generally beer drop days. And so I got to write on the board a lot.
Oh, nice.
And I really kind of leaned into that. So there are probably several up on the board right now that I wrote up there. Oh, I did write Skies Out, Thighs Up the board.
It's a nice one.
That's a good one. I was proud of that one.
So you wanted to be in art before being a teacher.
I did.
I wanted to be a lawyer before a musician. So
okay.
Look how we changed.
Look how far we've come. I go from I go from wanting to do art to kind of doing art and teaching social studies. You know.
Yep.
You go from wanting to be a lawyer to playing music.
Well, I always wanted to be a performer, I would have to say.
Well, because lawyer's kind of a performer
too.
So
here's the deal. I just literally had this conversation at the meeting I was at before I came and saw my good man here. I wanted to be a lawyer for movies like JFK with Kevin Costner.
Okay.
Few Good Men with Cruise and Law and Order. I watched a lot of Law and Order growing up.
Yeah.
Channel 41, it was always on.
Always.
And so I always really enjoyed. I'm like, man, you know how there's always that scene in like the lawyer movies or shows where it's like they really figure it out and then they go into court and then they deliver that fact and everybody's like, bum, 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 you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, that's cool. What if I could be that guy that like figures it out and goes in and then appeals to all the jury and everybody else, and they're like, yeah, he's right, you know. And then I was talking to some alums and trustees when I was in college. And I'm like, yeah, I want to be a lawyer. I'm like, this is the part I can't wait to do. And they're like,
yeah,
we try to keep it out of court.
We
want to keep it out of court. We want to settle. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, a lot of your work you're going to do is going to be
behind the
briefs,
scenes,
desk work. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you'll be in court maybe 10% of the time. I'm like, it's not for me.
You're like, nah,
not for me.
I'm a showman.
Yeah, right. So
I want to show off.
It was always going to be the performance, but I do it differently. I just put a guitar in front.
And it's weird because, you know, as a teacher, I perform every day.
You do, absolutely. And you know what? The best teachers I remember were great performers.
And it's funny because over 23 years of teaching, like I feel like I've become a better performer. And like I've worked on accents a lot and personas and just the way that I deliver things. And like I think that's what's made me stick as being like some of my kids' favorite teacher.
Yeah. I think some of the best teachers that I can remember, and disclaimer, all you teachers I had, you guys are all awesome. I love you all. But the ones that I can really remember, I think that they could have had a career in either acting or in comedy.
Absolutely.
Because some teachers I remember, it almost seemed like they were putting on a bit every day.
Yeah. And I mean, when I think about it, I've come so much further as a teacher based on how I perform. And I wish that I would have kind of maybe accessed that a little bit younger. But at that time in like high school when we had like drama and, you know, all of that kind of stuff, I was way too damn shy. Yeah. Like it was just not me. And I didn't come out of my shell until college. And at that point it was just kind of like, I'm just going to do my thing. Right. Like, and then I got into the teaching world and everything just kind of loosened up. And my teaching style is, you know, very real life oriented and project oriented and real life, and, you know, giving the kids that inspiration
Right.
that they need
Right.
in order to kind of nudge them in that particular direction.
Which is important.
It's absolutely important. It's part of the reason why I became a teacher.
Yeah.
It's awesome because my former 6th grade teacher is subbing in my district.
Yeah.
And it's super cool.
Yeah.
Like, he subbed for me this past week. I'm like, Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That is awesome.
It's pretty
You know what? It's, and I know, I don't know personal, but from friends and family members that I have as teachers, I know it's not always easy, you know, to teach all these kids, and but when you do take that care, when you do have that performance, basically the point I'm getting at, it makes a big difference over a lifetime. I remember some of the kids that were the problem students, you know, so to speak. I always remember, because I tried to be friends with everybody, you know what I mean? I just enjoyed different people from where everybody was coming from, different walks of life.
Right.
And so I'll still run into people that might have been considered the problem student in class, always disruptive, whatnot. And I probably was in 1 or 2 cases, but those guys, man, guys and girls, I remember they always were drawn to a certain person, a certain teacher that knew that they were a kid and they were going to figure, you know, they could figure it out.
Right.
And some of those people, you know, I think one in particular, you know, went on and super successful, and it was just, you know, it was just where he was at the time, but it didn't make him the person. So,
Right.
you know, it's great when you have those teachers that, even though it can be tough, it can be hard, you're working with all different classes, all kinds of different students, whatnot, you know, you still have that character to say, okay, well, you know, I believe in all of you, you know?
And I mean, that's always part of my pitch, because I mean, at the beginning of most school years, you know, we always hear from, you know, teachers from the year before, the year before that, oh, you know, watch out for, you know, this student. I always start my school year telling my students, I don't care how your teachers viewed you last year, the year before. It matters not to me. This is a clean slate. You're starting over. Like, this is a brand new year. This is a brand new start. Let's move forward in a positive direction.
Right.
And, you know, 7 years ago when I started in the school district that I'm in right now, probably one of my favorite teaching years. And I love how this interview has kind of like spun around to me. And I really kind of hate that, because it should be a little bit more about you.
I'm good, man. I like learning about you.
But I mean, it was a year where I learned a lot about myself, but it was also one of those years that was it was so memorable because of the kids that I had. And it all came back to me this past spring, because those were the kids that were graduating.
Right.
That group of kids that I had my first year in my school district.
Right.
And the seniors always put on a banquet honoring those teachers that inspired them. And I got an invitation to that. And
That's awesome.
It was one of those where it was an invitation, but you didn't know which student did it.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, you had like that small group of kids that you were like given, and it's like, well, I know this kid and this kid and this kid, and like, it was half of that group of kids that I knew that I taught. It was like, it could literally be any of them, because I remember every single one of them. And when that kid went up on the stage and like gave their speech, I was like, oh my God, that's why. And like, it just dawned on me, and that is the reason why this kid remembers me, and that is why he's doing what he's going to be doing.
Right.
And it was just kind of like, it's such a cool moment as a teacher to be respected like that and to be honored like that.
Right.
You just don't get that very often as a teacher.
No, and I can imagine.
Yeah,
I can imagine. And like I said, the people that I know who, friends like you that teach, or family members I've had that were teachers, you carry a lot of that weight home that you may know, or you may assume that kid deals with when he's out of school. So
people don't have
a lot.
any idea.
Yeah,
They
so
just- they
I
just
know
don't.
I know it's a lot. So I respect all teachers.
Appreciate that.
So yeah, I was fortunate to I went through Lake Central, so all the Lake Central people I enjoyed everybody. I can't remember a teacher I didn't like.
I was a pirate.
Yeah, nice.
You know, I grew up in Maryville. Now I teach with the Lowell Red Devils. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit weird.
Yeah,
Lowell the Hole. As
Yeah.
my parents used to call it back in the day.
yeah.
But I mean, Lowell's gotten a lot bigger. It truly has.
Oh, I know.
It's crazy how big Lowell has gotten.
I know. Don't forget, I'm a realtor too.
I know. I know.
I know.
All right, so let's transition back into the reason that we're here.
Beer?
Beer. Well, before we get into actually beer, outside of beer, what is your favorite alcohol?
Nothing. I like beer. Or you mean outside? What is my favorite?
Yeah,
is beer.
like, okay.
Outside of beer, I'd rather have wine.
Okay.
I do not like hard alcohol.
Excellent.
There's actually a joke song that I'm still working on. Jameson is not good to me. Anytime I've had it, I've let it come right back. And when we were in Italy, we made friends with this Italian fella, and he was actually our kind of like you are. He was our wine. You're my beer guy. Yeah, that guy. But then he's like a mini little Italian entrepreneur. He does sommelier, but then he also does tours and all this stuff. So we became friends with him over the 10 days we were there. And he came and met us out one night, and we had already done the wine tasting and the dinner and all this stuff. And he came and met us out late, and he's like, "Oh, come on, well, let's have a shot." And I'm like, "All right, well, we're going home after this. You know, I'm not a big shot guy." But he's like, "Oh, you know, what are we doing?" He's like, "Oh, Jameson." I go, "You kidding me?" I go, "I'm not doing Jameson." He goes, "Yeah, you are." He's like, "Everybody's doing it." I'm like, "All right, I'll do it because we're going home, but it does not do me any good, right?" Of course, I shouldn't have done it. In, right back
out.
And so I have a little joke song with my friends that were there, and Tiffany, my wife, that I'll make it a full song one day, but they were making fun of me the next day, of course. And I said, "Shot a JMO in Italy, feel like a hillbilly because I just puked all over the cobblestone road," which I did.
That is quite the way to take care of business.
Yeah, right.
For sure. And I mean, when I think about when I was in college, I was much the same with hard alcohol. I really, truly did not like it at all whatsoever. And it wasn't Jameson for me, it was Jim Beam.
See, I like Jim Beam. If I had to have a whiskey, it would be probably Jim Beam because it's got a little sweetness to it.
I still hate Jim Beam, but I love whiskey and I love bourbon. But I like just better bourbon and better whiskey.
Yeah.
But I do
not
love
that
wine
cool.
too. I do love wine too. I really do. But beer is pretty much my standard go-to.
Oh, I love beer.
In general. So what is your favorite thing about beer and what is your favorite style?
Well, if you caught me on any other day of the week where I'm not at, a brewery or something, I'm going to be drinking Miller Lite.
Okay.
Super light, great taste, less filling, like the commercials say.
Oh God.
So, you could have some of those and be fine all day long. So yeah, that's usually my go-to. And then other than that, obviously if I'm at a brewery, I'm just sticking to IPAs because that's just what I've grown accustomed to. So
don't let your beer get warm.
Oh, I didn't know if you were gonna
Have
have me talk about it.
Might as well
do an initial tasting.
See, the reason I love dark beers is because
The sky's out, right? Yep.
Yeah. The reason I love dark beers is because I love dark coffee. I love black coffee. I don't add any sugar or any cream to it. But like Scientific is so good because it's so chocolate and coffee forward that I'm like, yeah. And it's not overly sweet to me, but it just packs such a punch, which is why I don't have it very often.
Yeah.
Because it is only served ever in a 9-ounce glass.
Right. For a reason.
Because it's 10%.
Right. And maybe I would like that. I should try that sometime. Because I do like coffee. The only problem, I think the main reason I don't like dark beers is because the ones I've had, and you're obviously way more educated on beer than I am or am or will be. Is it like when they tell me, oh, do you like like if I go and a bartender's like, you like dark beer, you want to try it, whatnot, they'll be like, oh, do you like coffee? Yeah, I like coffee. Okay, well, try this. And then like you get a little taste of coffee in the front, and then it just packs you with a nasty punch in the back.
Nah.
Like it could be too much whiskey or bourbon or whatever they throw in there too.
Like even after this,
makes me feel like I'm drinking Jameson.
Even after this, it's still just
coffee.
See,
chocolate, I would probably like that.
Chocolate, coffee, and that's what I love about Scientific. And like we'll have our variants out for like Black Friday, which I'm super looking forward to.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love a good dark beer, and it wasn't until I started teaching and I actually started hanging out with my former teacher, Mr. Brown.
Yeah.
Because he was still teaching at the time, and I worked with him. We would go out every couple of weeks to a little Irish bar, and we'd have a couple of Guinness together. And
is that his real name, or is it like Reservoir Dogs?
No, it's totally Mr. Brown.
Okay.
And we'd have a few Guinness together, and I'm like, I've never had a Guinness before. And after that, it was like all that I wanted to drink was Guinness. And people shy away from Guinness because, oh, it's so heavy. It's not heavy, at least not to me anymore.
That's love.
Yeah,
that's beer love.
It's just beer hugging you from the inside.
Right.
That's all.
That's right.
That's all. So, like, I don't know whether you're like me. When I think back years about my beer experience, my beer profile has changed a lot.
Okay.
It really has. For you, as somebody who still enjoys Miller Lite, has your view on beer or styles evolved the older that you've gotten?
I don't think so.
Don't think so?
No, I think I've always liked IPA, and I think the first beer I ever stole a sip of was MGD, so I didn't fall too far from that.
Okay.
That family.
Okay. Like for me, IPAs were a hard sell for me.
Yeah.
They really were. I love the initial flavor of IPAs when I was younger, but I hated the aftertaste. And I get where my brothers are coming from, because my brothers hate IPAs. And I give them so much grief now. But what I hated about IPAs years ago is I could have 2 or 3, instant headache.
I don't get headaches from them.
Like it was just one of those things that just continuously happened. Anytime I had an IPA, instant headache. But I reached a certain age where it just stopped happening. And I just began enjoying IPAs for what they were. And those that had that back end, like if I didn't like it, I would move to something else.
Sure.
And if ever you're here with me at the brewery, I always play a game with the bartenders at the time. Like, what do you want to drink? Pour me a beer. Don't tell me what you're pouring me, just pour me a beer.
So it's the opposite of T-Pain. It was, you just pour me a beer, he's buy you a drink.
Exactly.
Nice. It's great talking about it.
But I mean, like at that point for me working here, it keeps me sharp.
Well, yeah, I mean,
because
look at where you're at now. You're telling me everything about these things.
Because I should be able to pick a beer out of a lineup.
Yeah.
I really honestly should.
I love it.
And that's part of what I enjoy. Plus, I don't like having the same IPA over and over and over and over again. Because
You're that tough?
I'm still afraid of that headache.
Yeah.
I am. Although there are IPAs where I legitimately could drink one after another.
Yeah.
I just try not to do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm always afraid of the headache.
I don't be afraid of the headache.
Oh, I hate headaches. Headaches are the worst.
Yeah.
So I know that you like beer and you enjoy beer, and we're both friends with Robert Federson.
Yep.
Fed's put on a couple of beers here. Have you ever thought about brewing?
Yeah, I would love to.
Really? If you were to brew a beer here or anywhere else, what kind of beer would you want to brew?
I'd probably start with an IPA since that's what I like.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any ideas about that IPA at all, or are you just gonna lean hard into the powers that be?
I would probably lean hard into their knowledge.
Okay.
Um,
Start with a name, man.
Well, I'd be great at naming something.
If you were to name your own IPA, what would it be?
You're gonna put me on there right there, huh?
Oh yeah, I am.
I would make a play on my music with a shot to the Grateful Dead and kind of what Fed already does. And maybe you guys, maybe I'm not speaking a line here. Maybe you guys have had something named like this before, but Franklin's Tower.
No.
I would do Franklin's Tower.
Okay.
Because I play that song.
Okay.
So I would start with Franklin's Tower, although my name's not Franklin, it's Frank.
Well, still.
But I would play it off that. It's not the greatest name because it's off the cuff.
But still, that's a lot to work with.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, for sure. I can see the label.
So can I. But I doubt it's the same label. What's the name?
Probably not. Probably not. Have you ever dabbled with brewing?
No, you know what?
All? So you don't know anything about.
No, you know what?
beer?
I've always wanted to. I've always wanted to get one of those brew kits.
Okay.
And do it at home. And I've talked to people about it. Square one reminds me of being on a boat.
Ooh,
That's what I would say.
On a boat.
Thighs out. And let me give you this. Guys out, thighs out. Because this reminded me of something too. This is summer. But this is like you're going to be on a boat all day. So this has a smooth taste.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll let you know about that one here in a second.
Yeah. The Square One is so good. It's just so consistent and so good every single time. It's just a good, solid lager. It just is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we won a silver medal downstate in Indianapolis several years ago for Square One.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, these guys have kind of dabbled with it just a little bit, and it comes off a little bit less bitter than what it did before. A little bit less sweet, but man, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good crushable beer.
Right.
You know, Skies is good too. Like Skies is one of my go-tos. We're almost out of it, so I mean, now that you're gravitating towards it,
Yeah.
might want to get it while the getting's good.
Right. Right.
So my second one is the barrel infused Hogtide.
Yeah.
So what they did with this one was they took the original Hogtide, which was bacon infused and maple syrup French toast infused.
Yeah, it sounds great. It sounds like breakfast.
It literally is breakfast. It's a breakfast beer, which is weird, but it works.
But it's breakfast that puts you back to sleep, right?
Yes.
In my case,
for
it
sure.
would.
For sure. It takes the place of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like now that it's warmed up a little bit, as I said before, any dark beer is going to get a little bit better, a little bit warmer that it gets. I mean, you for a darker beer like a porter or a stout, ideally you want something a little bit like 40 degrees, a little bit less than 40.
Okay.
Because then you're going to get a lot of those darker notes, the maltiness, the coffee, the chocolate, all of that's going to start to sing. But I mean, with this,
Sounds good.
It's a very French toast.
Mm-hmm.
I love French toast.
Yeah.
I really do. I love French toast. Maple syrup on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Like the longer like I sit here, it's just maple syrup.
Yeah.
Just
That's
like
awesome.
right on the back of my palate. I love it.
Well, let me ask you this. So do you prefer beer out of a draft or bottle or can?
Ooh. Draft, then bottle, then can.
All right, I'm the same way. Because a draft's got better taste.
It
in my
does.
opinion.
It really does. It's all
Unless you go to one of those places where it's dirty.
Yeah, it's all about cleaning the lines.
Big time.
And I mean, if ever you guys have been to Off Square and you look at our big board up there, we actually tell you when our lines were last cleaned.
October 17th.
See?
I did see that.
Right there. And that pays testament to how much we care about the process, because if the lines are not clean,
It's
then
terrible.
you're getting just residue of old beer and funk and grossness And there are so many places that just don't take care of their lines as well. And it just ruins the beer experience completely.
Oh, and I can't even imagine what it would taste like otherwise with craft beer that's got all this taste and all this love and heart into it. But I can go to a bar, and like I said, I'll normally my go-to Miller Lite.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, can you taste how bad a Miller Lite is if the lines are not clean? A good draft Miller Lite tastes beautifully.
Clean, crisp, delicious.
A bad Miller Lite tastes stale.
Oh, it's gross.
Tastes like somebody's kicking you in your throat. Oh. And I mean that. Kicking you right in the throat. I swear, it's disgusting.
No. It's not good.
No, it's terrible.
No.
But you can't let beer go to waste, so then I try to suffer it
Yeah,
down.
you suck it down, and then you want to change to something else.
Well, no, I go to a bottle then.
But at
that point, I ask if they have bottle.
You have to at that point.
But yeah, that's bad.
That's not good.
And for those keeping score at home, they were clean on October 17th. I think today's the 20th.
Yeah.
21st, 20th, 21st. So
I mean, the lines are super clean.
Because you're technically, to keep them nice, you're supposed to clean them once a week, 2 weeks, or something like that. Or
it's generally every 3 weeks.
Every 3 weeks.
If you want to remain consistent, if there is a change, like we have a couple of kegs that are running low right now, so as soon as those are changed out, those lines will get completely clean.
Because you'll have something different else.
A new beer will come on. Sure. Because otherwise you're just going to, I don't want to say cross-contaminate.
That's the word that came in my head, though. So that makes sense.
But you're going to end up blending two beers into the same, and you're going to be wasting beer at the same time until that line is completely clear.
Yeah.
So you might as well just flush it out completely,
right.
Clean it completely, and then throw the beer on.
Right, because you're telling somebody they're getting citrus hops and West Coast IPA, and they're tasting French toast.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And there are those frustrating times where that has happened at other breweries that I've been to, and it's like, oh, why? And I just push that beer aside, and I'm like, no, I want this instead, or right. I'd like it out of a bottle, or something like that if they offer that.
Right.
Yeah. Third beer.
Veranda.
Oh, this is the one that you were kind of looking forward to a little bit. Apple, pear, pine resin.
Oh, it's nice. It's warm. It's got a warmness to it. That's like around the fire type stuff.
Yeah. Veranda.
Yeah.
Sitting on the veranda, around a fire pit.
Yeah.
That's what you want right there.
That's right.
Me? A pineapple upside down cake.
That's nice.
Thunder Whip, man. Finishing with dessert.
That's right.
It's a great way to end.
Yeah.
So when you think about the three beers that you chose, and I want you to put Long Day aside, because I know that you love Long Day. If you couldn't have Long Day, and these were the only three that you could choose, which of the three would you choose? You want to take one more sip of each?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Okay.
Because I do like them all.
Veranda's got that nice hoppiness to it.
Mm-hmm.
You get that pine resin, you get the fruit notes to it. Lingers a little bit on the back end. Square is very clean, crisp, malty, subtly sweet.
See, the problem is I can already tell you that I would choose them all, but at different points of the day or different things of what I'm doing.
Okay. All right. So
I would, if I was here late at night, I knew I was going home, going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have Veranda.
All right. So PM Veranda.
And honestly, these two are so smooth. You could start, I don't want to say in the morning, but you can start early. you could start early and go to the lake and sit on the beach.
So let's think like a hobbit, okay? Luncheon or afternoon tea?
Luncheon.
Okay, so square one for luncheon.
Afternoon tea.
Afternoon tea is Skies Out. And then dinner and supper is Veranda.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, this would go really good with steak.
Oh, yeah.
I can already tell that.
Yeah. An apple notes to it would be good.
or one of the nice burgers we have here.
Burgers are always good.
Yes, sir.
So, Cy-Cal, barrel-aged hogtied Thunder Whip. Obviously, Thunder Whip, I'm going to have to end my day with a Thunder Whip.
Yeah.
It's sweet, it's cakey, but in a good way, but very, very citrusy. I would have to say probably hogtied because it's very breakfasty. It's like second breakfast.
Yeah.
And then Cy-Cal almost kind of ties Thunder Whip for dessert because it's so chocolatey and so coffee that, like, yeah, you could go either way with either one.
Hogtied makes me think of in college, we do kegs and eggs on football game days.
Oh, okay.
Get up super early.
Yeah.
Have eggs, bacon, and a keg. And what you try to do, and I don't recommend this, but you would eat, you would drink, right? Have a good time. And sometimes it would be early enough, you go take another nap while you get up from sleep and you take a nap, and then you're good for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
When you describe that beer, it reminds me of college, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Is
mean,
what I'm trying to say.
I mean, one of my best memories from college was, I went to school down at St. Joe, and one of my buddies.
R.I.P. buddy. R.I.P.
Hey, St. Joe's making a comeback.
It is. It should.
It is.
It definitely should.
It is. But we always used to do Little Five go-kart race.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think it was my junior year, one of my buddies, his dad was an alumni, and he comes like pounding on our door early that morning. Like, we're talking 8 o'clock. He comes in with like 24 donuts and like 3 cases of beer, and he's like, "Good morning, everyone. Let's go."
Yep.
And it's like, holy cow, what did we get ourselves into? But I mean, like, breakfast in college was different.
Yep. And so was the alarms. 8 o'clock now. Yeah. As a teacher, that's late.
That's second breakfast. It is.
Sure is.
I mean, I wake up at
bus has already left.
I wake up at 5 every morning. I get to school at 7:15.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at that time,
yep,
I'm ready for another round of breakfast.
Right.
It's just
do you eat breakfast?
Off and on I will. A lot of times when I wake up, it's, wake up, take care of the dog, perk coffee. Depending on what I'm doing, whether I need to do like any additions to my lesson plans or I need to send emails or anything like that, I might skip breakfast. But sometimes it'll be like a protein shake or oatmeal or eggs and toast or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's very sporadic. I wish I were more consistent, for sure.
Now, when you say, because I got a couple different ways I'm going to go here. When you say perk coffee, do you actually use that thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is what perk coffee means.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, you're way more of an intellectual than I am because I just make coffee.
I like good coffee.
Good coffee is a good thing.
Good coffee is a good thing.
It's a great thing.
Yeah.
And
good coffee takes time.
I've been telling Tiffany that for some reason our coffee is starting to taste worse and worse.
Clean your coffee maker.
We did. We just got a brand new one.
Yeah. You need to throw it out the window.
I know. I know. But yeah, I don't eat breakfast.
Really?
Yeah, I hate breakfast.
What about breakfast do you not like?
I don't know. I feel better when I don't eat in the morning. I eat if I'm on a day that I can control completely. I will do a protein shake because I exercise in the morning.
Yeah.
But that's about it. And then other than like vitamins and stuff, I will probably not eat until between noon and 2:33, and then I try to eat dinner before 7 o'clock.
Okay.
I've always been that way. People make fun of me because I don't eat a lot. Well, they don't make fun of me, but they joke with me.
Like this school year threw me for a loop because the way that my schedule is, like my lunch is like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, you got that A lunch.
I do.
There's there's two things you don't want in school: A lunch and D lunch. You always want that B and C.
Yeah, so I've tried really hard to like try and have something. That way when lunch comes around, I have something, and then I'm good until at least I get home.
Yeah.
But some days just don't work out.
Where do you eat lunch at?
Where?
Yeah, your classroom, or is there a teacher's lounge?
No, I barricade myself in my classroom.
Do you?
I don't want to deal with people at all. No.
Are there anything, I always wonder, what, is it like the movies where all the teachers get to the teacher's lounge and they're like, you wouldn't believe what I just dealt with?
There is...
Or do people just like normally eat lunch and read newspapers and stuff?
No, it's nothing
Watch
like
TikTok?
that at all. No. I wish people were more cognizant as to what takes place in a teacher's lounge.
Mm-hmm.
Because there really is a lot of, I don't want to say drama, because there's really not drama. There's just a lot of nonsense and a lot of things that I just don't want to associate myself with. And
Right.
a lot of it has nothing to do with school. Like, my position is different because I'm a guy. And the bulk of the people that I work with are female.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, one of the things that I loved about working at my building for a good while was the fact that, you know, we, for the most part, all ate together as a grade level.
Mm-hmm.
So all sixth grade teachers, we'd get together and like we would vent, we would problem solve together, and it was wonderful. And then all of a sudden, you know, certain people left and certain people came in, and certain people began to really like Desperate Housewives.
Great show. But are the teachers just like,
And
are the teachers...
I'm not gonna watch Desperate Housewives. And so for probably
Well, it depends which city you're watching.
and exactly.
Oh no, that's just a one show, right?
No, there's like multiple cities.
No, I think Desperate Housewives is a show, and then it's Housewives of
Oh,
Orange
yeah,
County.
yeah. You're right.
You know, I don't think Desperate Housewives is on anymore.
Yeah, whatever.
So is the
but
te-
it was Housewives of
Orange
whatever.
County, New
Yeah,
Jersey,
Atlanta,
Florida,
whatever.
Atlanta. Yeah,
And it just got to that point where I had nothing to contribute.
yeah, that's okay.
And like I always put it as a mic drop, and I would just like send one comment to make everyone laugh, and then I would leave.
Costanza,
Yeah,
got a George Costanza way out of there.
I just tried to Costanza my way out of it, like because I was legitimately the only guy in the lunchroom. And then I just decided, like, no, I don't want to do that to myself. I don't need that stress, and no, I don't need that.
Yeah,
So I will sit in my classroom, I will eat
Show
my
is
lunch
stressful.
by myself, I will listen to an audiobook, or I'll listen to music, or I'll watch videos, or I'll lesson plan, or whatever.
yeah.
I would rather do that.
Are teachers like students, where like all the sixth grade teachers are better, like they click together against the seventh and fifth grade?
I wouldn't necessarily say
Is it
that.
all for one for all?
I wouldn't-
American?
No.
Just like a league of their own.
This year's a little bit different in my building because this is the first year where my building has like divided itself. And I know that sounds really, really strange, but I've worked in a middle school building, and because of the influx of fifth grade
Yep.
in the district, we needed to bring the fifth grade to our building.
Yep.
And so the middle school divided in half. So half is 7th and 8th for middle school. And then the other half is 5th and 6th, which is intermediate.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are a lot of new teachers within like my area of the building. And so a lot of it has taken a lot of just getting to know one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there still is that uncomfortableness, like that,
Sure.
that's still there. Like
That's intermingling.
yeah,
Yeah.
like we trust each other, but we don't. And like, I want to sit down and I want to have lunch with you, but I don't because I'm reserved. But you know, I've got too many things going on, and being, you know, the person that I am, and not wanting to involve in, you know, Housewives of Los Angeles or
Right. but not
wherever.
Desperate Housewives.
Yeah, whatever the hell it was. But I mean, like I felt like it was in my best interest to kind of pull away, deal with the things that are more me. Plus, like I'm like the building tech lead this year, so I'm dealing with like problem solving with like our learning management system, our gradebook, Google, Apple, all of that. I'm their like go-to person, so I'm also dealing with that too, which can be time consuming, especially with a lot of the teachers from, you know, some of the elementary schools coming over that aren't used to some of these programs. So that's soaked up a little bit of my time this year.
So do you teach teachers as well how to use that system? It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And then I work here.
Well, you have to work here. You can't not work here.
Well, I could,
but we don't want you
but
to not work here.
But I opt not to.
Right.
Because I get to do things like this.
Right. You should hold beer tasting classes and just do exactly what you do here and just tell people, like, what'd you get? Because it seems like you know everything. So,
no. I don't
know everything. You know everything about
everything. I know a fair amount.
Fair amount works.
I will never say that I know everything, because these guys in back, Matt and Dylan, know far more than I do.
Matt Dillon works here?
Matt and Dylan. Matt and Dylan. Dylan.
You know Matt Dillon, right? Yeah. Great guy. Yeah.
Totally great guy.
Big teeth.
Yeah. Huge teeth.
And something about Mary. Great guy. That's a great movie.
These guys know far more than I do, and like I know my stuff to be able to talk to people.
Well, that's all you need. People aren't coming here for you to know everything. They're coming here for you to just tell them something. Like
right, and I mean,
I've been drinking Long Day for how long? For a long day.
For a minute.
And I mean, I don't know what that is. You know what I'm doing with what I'm drinking.
Yeah.
And you described it exactly right. And then you're hitting all these, and I mean that's exciting for people. I mean, you get people. Hey, you know, Dan's running the beer tasting classes Saturday from at. You're going to have your breakfast club, so you're 10 or you're 11. What time you open on Saturday?
11:30.
11:30?
Yeah.
So 11:30. Should do 11:30, 1, and 3:30. 3 classes, $5, $10. Do those 3 classes, you drop the mic, and you go home. That'd be fun. I mean,
I think you might need to pitch that to Dave and Barb.
Well, I will, but it's the same thing as I was telling you that guy in Italy that was buying the shots. I don't even know if he knew what he was doing, but he was so good at just being a friendly guy, and we became friends with him over 10 days. He's telling me this, and he's telling me that, and I'm drinking this wine with this cheese and this cheese with this wine. And he's like, did you taste that? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I bet you tasted blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, okay, now do this cheese with this wine. And he goes, how's it taste? I go, I don't feel like that cheese on my mouth. It feels clean. He goes, because that pairs with that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, cool. I don't even know if he's telling me the truth. He just knows what's going on.
Maybe he's just bullshitting you at the time.
What I'm saying is that you can do the same thing. Because I don't know if there's apple in here. You said there's apple in here. I don't know, but it feels like a fire.
No, but like it's
I just got one of those little iron or metal fire pit things. So I'm first time I'm using it on Halloween. And if there's real apple in here, it would go nice right next to that fire.
There's not real apple in there. That's all the hop. And what
people I don't know.
And the thing is that what people don't understand about hops, and this was something that broke my brain a couple of times this past weekend. I like an IPA, but I don't want it to have any fruit notes on it. I had that 3 times in the same day.
It was a conspiracy. That's why.
And I felt like people. I felt like people were coming out to.
They were coming for you, test you,
attack me.
They were.
Like, well,
I organized it.
Well, for the most part, most hops are going to have fruit notes, and they tried to call me out on it. I'm like, okay, well, give me an example. And I was like, well, this beer has this particular note to it, and then they began to think about it, and they were like, oh. You're right.
So they were probably thinking in their head, like, I don't want a fruity IPA.
They just didn't want something.
Because there are fruity IPAs.
There are very, very fruity IPAs, like Skies Out, Thighs Out, extremely fruity.
Yeah.
But when you think of something like Long Day, Long Day's not over-the-top fruity. It's more malty, spicy.
Yes.
And so that is where I pushed them.
I'd pay you for this knowledge.
And so that is where I had pushed them. If they wanted a little bit more of, like, hoppy fruity, Veranda. If they wanted more fruity, Skies. Tropic Thunder, Tropic Whip, or Thunder Whip. Like, these are all things that, you know, you have to play on when you talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot. It can be a lot, and it can be confusing, but beer knowledge is a lot about basics.
And the basics I don't have.
The basics you haven't learned yet.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's why you have the knowledge, so you can charge for it, have class.
I'm not charging you anything.
See, well, think about it. I think music's easy. I'm in real estate. I think real estate's easy, but there's people that don't know that stuff.
Yeah.
Baseball, I think baseball's easy because I've worked at it for 20 years.
Same.
But people don't have that knowledge. So
Running's easy for me.
Not for me.
Like, I'm getting back into running again. Like,
tie a rope. I'll sit on a cart and you can drag me because I'm not running.
I will not do that.
I ran 90 feet at a time and I don't run more than that.
Yeah, well, to each their own.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. No. My college injury has destroyed my little finger.
Is that why you can't play guitar? Yep. Well, Jerry Garcia was missing this finger.
Well, I still have this useless finger.
Well,
are you saying that I should just cut it off?
You could, or just
and just figure out the rest?
Do this. Can you just tie it to this and then play?
I don't know. Probably I would
if you
have
could do that. You'd probably be famous.
I would have to tie it or tape it or something. I'd rather cut it off.
Go ahead.
Don't tell me, but a good time.
You could.
I will not.
I will not.
I will not. I will not. So,
well,
this really strayed. I mean, I probably won't use a lot of this, but this is fun.
Oh, it's great. You should use it all.
Yeah.
You should use it all. It's been a great conversation.
No, it's been a great conversation.
And one of the other things we learned from watching Netflix documentaries, like I said in our break, I had to go use the restroom, and what we learned from Netflix documentaries is you always take the microphone off before you go to the bathroom.
Yes, we have.
Because
bad things happen in bathrooms.
That, or you talk to yourself.
You do.
And incriminate yourself.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Nope.
No.
And I still forget what the documentary was called.
Oh. Probably because, someone didn't go to the bathroom with a microphone on.
Well, no, he did. Now he's in jail.
That's what happens.
Speaking of documentaries, you watch documentaries?
Yeah, I love documentaries.
Me too. You learn a lot.
See, I'm being a social studies teacher, I'm a history buff. I love history-related documentaries.
Graham Hancock?
Yeah.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
And I like how he gets abused for his thoughts, but at least he's pushing like, hey, this could be the case.
Yeah, you have to push those thoughts and that ideas because those are things that need to be disproven in order to actually find what is actually the truth.
Right.
And like as I tell my students a lot of times, especially with the ancient histories, is what I'm teaching you is one end, but there are a lot of unknowns.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to take a lot of what is ancient with a little bit of a grain of salt, because a lot of times the ancient histories are based on the journals of people that conquered, people that wanted to make a name for themselves, people that wanted to make themselves feel greater than what they were or what they deserved to be.
Right.
And so that, takes away from what truly could have actually happened.
Yeah.
History is written by the people that win.
Yeah. Yeah. And same thing with, what facts are. You know what did it for me? Pluto. We were taught Pluto was a planet, right? Now it's not a planet. What do you mean it's not a planet? How can it be a planet one generation, next generation is not?
Because its orbit intersects with another planet.
Yeah, see, you always got the answers.
I always
disagree.
have the answers. I disagree because I grew up knowing that Pluto was a planet. And then
Pluto's 9.
When it wasn't, I was like, The hell it isn't.
Being a Dave Matthews fan, that screws up a song.
It does.
9 planets around the
It
sun.
absolutely does.
Yep.
And I will not have science
Mess up a song,
exactly.
right? So, if we've learned anything today, it's facts are never facts.
No, not always.
Beer tastes good.
Beer is always good.
Cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers.